Brought to you by Nordic Podcast.
Today we're joined by a very special guest. This is not only a founder and CEO, he's also a serial entrepreneur in his field within IT, right now blockchain technology, and UNISOT. We will try and touch all these topics. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
I'm glad you could make it. It was a little bit short notice, but I'm sure that it's going to be more than worth it in terms of knowledge. And really excited to share your story, your journey, and how you even entered this blockchain technology, this high level of IT knowledge.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I would like to start first of all with, how does a person get into blockchain?
Yeah, that's a long history.
Right.
The quick short version is just that I've been working 20 years as an SAP consultant. SAP, the ERP, is the biggest ERP system in the world. And I saw the problem that companies have to actually exchange information in an efficient, secure, and cost-efficient way. So I was looking for a solution to this problem for a long time and couldn't really find it until one day I read this white paper from a guy called Satoshi Nakamoto about Bitcoin.
Right.
And it just blew my mind that, wow, here is a solution to that problem. So I started working on that. So that's what ended up in the companies that I have now.
So where did you start initially, in the very beginning? Like, because you have gone through and created so many beautiful high-tech companies and you could say projects.
I should call them projects, because I haven't been growing that big. And some of them failed and everything.
No, but I like to say in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Your failures are actually more impressive than your success, because it shows you have broken barriers and you have been at the edge of thinking new and pushing the envelope.
Exactly.
So that is actually a praise towards what you're doing.
So that's what I'm telling the people we have now in our teams, that it's very important to dare to do things and try things and test things. And it's allowed to make errors and mistakes as long as you learn from them and don't do them again and again and again. And I've done tons of mistakes, but I learned a lot. And I hope I remember most of what I've learned as well, because I'm getting older and the memory is getting weaker. But still, it's also about building a team with a lot of good people around you. But I started with this. I was talking about the problem that companies have to communicate and exchange information. But I actually already started way back in the 80s. So I was like 16, 17 years old, and I was a ham radio operator.
Ham radio. What is that exactly?
Ham radio is when you have a radio and you can communicate with the rest of the world. You have big antennas on your house, and then you have CB radios, but that's just between shorter distance. But ham radio is when you do a test and you get a call sign from the government. So I had Sierra Mike 7 November Golf Victor was my call sign at the time. I still remember it. It was a long time ago. Or maybe someone else has that call sign now, I don't know. So maybe I should be careful with that call sign.
Right.
Anyway, so what I did then was I had this ham radio, and I thought I was more interested in the technology than just talking to someone to get. A lot of ham radio operators are interested in just getting a contact and exchanging, where are you? What's the signal? What kind of equipment do you have? And so on. And I was more interested in the technology. So what I did was I built myself a small modem at the time, which was called an RTTY, Relay Teletype, which allowed me, with my first computer, a Commodore 64, actually my second one, the first one was a VIC-20.
Wow.
Back in 82, 83 something. But then I had my Commodore 64 with 64 kilobyte. So what I did with this computer was I connected this modem, And I wrote a program where when I typed on the keyboard, when I pressed an A, for example, has the ASCII character of 65.
Okay.
Then you serialize that to ones and zeros, and that went to this modem, which made for a 0 one tone, and for the 1 another tone. So you got like diddle-lit. So every time I typed it, diddle-lit, and that went into my radio, and then I can communicate with other people around the world by typing on my computer. And this was way before internet or anything.
That's genius.
So that was super interesting at the time, because nothing like that existed.
No.
You had you could make telegram. If you go to the national telephone company, you can send a telegram, and it was the same technology. But now I could do it home in my bedroom at my parents' house.
And you built this at the age of
16, 17, 18, something.
That's insane. That's an insane start.
So that was my first start when I actually communicated between two computers.
Right.
And then I continue with my first job, which was at the Tetra Pak, which is this multinational company who makes milk and juice cartons.
Okay.
Tetra Pak. It's a multinational, one of the world's biggest packaging companies.
Right.
So I started there as a trainee for a couple of years, and actually traveled the world around to install their filling machine and to service their filling machine. But I was more interested in that black box inside these machines, which was the PLC, the programmable logic controller, who controlled this whole machine.
Right.
Which you can program from a PC at the time. Or actually, it was not even a PC, it was a big bulky terminal what you had. So I was more interested in that, and it actually ended up that I ended up in the training department for Tetra Pak to train other people how to program this PLC inside the machines. Mm-hmm. And that evolved then to that we connected all the filling machines, like if you have a juice factory here in Norway, a milk factory.
Right.
They have a number of machines. So what we did was then to connect all these filling machines to a central computer. And there was back to my previous, this RTTY technology, where a serialized an ASCII character to be two tones,
exactly.
Ones and zeros. And now we did the same here, but now we sent it to a central computer. So now we have a production management system,
right,
with cables to each machine and so on. So I travel
see
around
the
doing
trend.
that.
I see the trend already. You like making
I like
people and things talk with each other.
Yes.
Technology talking.
Technology talking and just testing the technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really in the edge of the communication at that time. And then at Tetra Pak, I went into the computer department there, and I saw these suited guys walking around there working with SAP.
Right,
SAP
right.
is then the biggest ERP system in the world. And I thought, I was sitting there working with a maintenance system for Tetra Pak. And I was looking at these guys in their nice suits, and they're coming from Australia and England and everywhere. And thought, that looks nice. I want to work with the same thing. So I went to my boss and said, I want to work with SAP, because Tetra Pak started to implement SAP at the time. And he said, no, you have to continue working with this maintenance system that you do. And so I said a bad word, and I said bye-bye, and I went into a new company, which was an SAP consultant company.
So you basically quit on the spot, or?
No, it was like some weeks after that.
Okay. Wow.
So I was lucky to come into a brand new started SAP consultant company in South Sweden called Epona Data. And same thing there. I started as an SAP have their own programming language called ABAP. ABAP. And what I did there was also communication. So we integrated with web shops. We integrated SAP system with warehouse management system and other systems and so on. So that was again continuing the communication. It's always been interested in that thing.
Because this communication again is what we keep seeing can be improved upon.
Exactly.
And
yes.
the more we improve upon it, obviously, the better every unit can be, whether it's computers or telephones or TVs.
Right. So that's where my SAP career started. So I then worked with SAP in different ways for 20 years.
So at what point did you feel, okay, you know what, I need to take this journey on my own road. I need to get things into my own hand.
Right.
What, you could say, signaled you to pull back or venture forward into your own projects?
Right. So I have to circle back a little bit back here, because already in, I think it was 1984 or something like that, I started my first company called High Tech Trading.
Was it a trading company?
It was a trading company. So I was planning to import electronics from Taiwan. So I actually got a number of these key finders. Remember, this was back in, I think, 85 or 86, 85, I think.
Okay.
So now you can buy it down on any shops here.
Exactly.
But it didn't exist here.
No.
So I imported this key finder where it was rather bulky thing where you could split it up. There was a sender and a receiver. So you put the sender on your keys or your suitcase, and the receiver you put in your belt here. So when you went away like 10 or 20 meters away, it beeped. So very high tech, but
yeah. Especially back then, a key finder like that
was really high tech
rare.
at the time. Yeah, so the company name was good at the time, but it never. I worked at Tetra Pak at the same time,
Right.
so I always had a job and started my companies on my free time.
Oh, so you always had this side gig type
Yeah,
of...
more or less. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So why didn't that take off more than...
I didn't have enough time because I was traveling the world around for Tetra Pak, and I didn't have really a business idea.
Right.
And I was more fun of the technology and
Right.
doing the import and stuff and like that. So it never really went off.
Yeah, a lot of these things you will see like a brilliant innovation that didn't have the necessary, you could say, business support. Because innovation and business, just because you're good in one doesn't mean you'll be good in the other.
Exactly, yeah. And also because there were radius in these ones.
Yeah.
You had problems with laws and things like that.
Right.
So my next company then was a company called Trenob Consulting.
Trenob, so it was a consulting firm?
Consulting firm I was more programming.
Okay.
So this is where I sold my first software, which was for a dog food company. So it was a software where we went out to, or they were using at dog shows. So people could weigh their dog, and then they enter what type of dog it was, and we have the weight, and then the company could then give them a recommendation on what kind of food the dog should have and how much. And of course, from that brand, then of course. But,
right.
But that was my actually first software that I sold to someone. So that was really
that's actually impressive.
A big thing for me then. Right now, it's like nothing. It was just a small company, a small program, but
still, to
but
start
still that
now
was a
pushing a software at that level.
That was really funny and educating because, again, communicating with a scale in this case and a normal computer. That wasn't just to plug it in. There was RS-323 and then talking binary to the ports and stuff like that.
But where did you learn how to manipulate tech in such an advanced way so early? You were 16 when you started. Was this educational? Was this talent? Was this...
No, I'm not educated in programming. I'm educated as an automation engineer.
Right.
But at the time, there was not much programming. No. There was PLC systems, but that was more like actually almost like kind of drag and drop thing,
right.
But not really programming. So I'm self-learned in everything.
That's insane.
Of this. And after that, me and my wife started a new company where mostly from my wife's interest. So it was an interior design shop. Mm-hmm. So we have a physical shop in a small in a city in Sweden in Helsingborg.
Right.
And that went very well. And my wife was in the shop, and I was doing the website and some marketing and stuff like that. And And it went very good, and up till one day when the government, or not the government, the city where we had a very nice place for this shop. It was on a corner of a big square, so it was a very good. There was parking spaces. People could just stop and come in and buy and go. It's a perfect spot. Until the day the city decided that okay, this square is now going to be a parking garage. So we are closing down the square for 2 years. All the shops around this square went bankrupt.
Wow.
As well as us.
Right.
Because from one day to the other, the customers just dropped from many to maybe one a day. And you can't sustain the rent and all the interior and everything. So we tried
insane.
for a while. We put a lot of money in there. We tried to survive for like half a year. And then we said, no, it's impossible. We can't put more money into this. So our first bankruptcy.
Right.
And that was very educational as well to do that, to go through lawyers and courts. But actually we paid off all our debts and closed off everything very fine and in order. And we were very happy for that. But it cost us a lot of money.
Exactly. It's weird to think that they would make such a decision to just suddenly turn the whole thing to parking spots.
And without any warning or without any compensation at all. We asked for compensation. We asked for the house manager to lower our rent. Nothing worked. So
how does one bounce back from that?
So what we did, we closed that company down, and a couple of months later, or half a year later, we moved to Belgium. So that was in Sweden. We lived in Sweden at the moment.
Why Belgium, of all places?
Because my wife is from Belgium.
Okay. That explains one thing.
So my wife is from Belgium, and she moved to Sweden, and we married and so on. And she lived in Sweden for 18 years with me. So I wanted to do something. I had been working as a SAP consultant for a couple of years. So I was now more close to a senior consultant. So I just sent out my CVs all over the place, and I got a job in the Netherlands.
Oh,
as an SAP consultant, yes.
Perfect.
So continuing in that road. And we moved down there, 2 children, 2 daughters. One was 12, one was 6. So it was not really good timing for the 12-year-old to do that, but she managed very, very fine as well. Came down there, worked for a couple of years in that consultant company until it was sold. Actually, maybe I should go back to the first SAP company I was working on, Epona Data. It was sold to a bigger company.
It was
IBM Maersk, IBM. And I don't want to work in big companies anymore. I worked in Tetra Pak for almost 14 years. And it's a complete different way of working in a big company or a small company. It was good for me in the first years of my life and career to learn a lot and to know a lot of people in a company. But at the same time, you're just working inside that bubble.
Okay, so you prefer small companies because it's less of a bubble?
Yes, because I can do more. I have more influence, and I don't have to ask my manager and provide a budget and everything, and I can just do it.
Right.
And same thing here in the Netherlands. That company I was working for was a nice small consultant company with like 50 people or something, and then it was sold to a bigger company. So I said, I don't really like this. So then I stopped, and then I became my own freelance consulting company. So
that's a good move. That's a very good move in that position, honestly.
Yeah. So
especially with
that's
the knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, you have to be careful before you get a freelance consultant, because you must have your knowledge, you must have the experience.
Yeah.
But when you have the experience and you have a network, you have customers coming back, you have agents calling you and so on, then it was a good time to take the step to be my own consultant.
Perfect.
And not pay like 75 or 50% to my company, and then I get just a normal salary. So
no, it was a very good strategic move as well. I feel like you need to have some certain leverage to be able to go freelance in whatever
Yes.
business you're in.
Yeah.
And
Because you're selling your knowledge, you're selling your experience.
yeah,
So you must have some experience, and I had got that during the time. So, and that was 2005-06. It went perfectly fine until 2008, the crisis, the economic crisis, 2008-2009, and at the same time we moved from one city in Belgium to another one. We tried to sell one house, and we had already bought another house. So we were sitting there with two houses, a couple of months without any income, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
But that's the times when you really have to be prepared as if you're freelance or you have your own company. You have to make sure that you have some reserve so that you can survive without income for a couple of months.
In case,
yeah. If
such
you don't
a
have
crisis,
if you don't have rich parents or something or something like that, make sure you have some buffer of money so you can survive. Or you have to find another job, of course. But
of course.
I managed a couple of months there and then continued as an SAP freelance consultant.
It was a difficult time. Obviously, it was an economic crisis, and it came out of nowhere. And a lot of people, especially when the economy is booming, do not think of having this reserve currency like or economic cushion. That's
Exactly.
the last thing they think about.
Yeah, right. Because you put all your money in,
And everything is going up.
or you don't have that much money. You're just living day to day.
Right. It is
Sometimes you have to do that as well. But I had a family. I had two daughters, my wife, and two houses and everything. The funny thing here is that we were trying to sell this house through to normal brokers. I think we went through 3 or 4 different house brokers to try to sell this house, and it didn't really work. So one day we just decided that with my wife then that, okay, we sell it ourselves. I was traveling and she was at home, so managing our company as well there. And we said, oh, you sell it. You're good at selling. And yeah, it took 2 weeks and they sold the house. So we had waited like 2 months with these professional sellers. And then suddenly my wife sell it in 2 weeks. And we got a price much higher than all the brokers had suggested to us as well. So
I think she found her calling.
yeah. So I told her, let's do that. And actually, she repeated that when we moved from Belgium to Norway in 2014. Same thing there. We only had 2 brokers, and then we said, no, let's do like last time.
Perfect.
So she sold it again in just 1 week or something like that.
Wow, no,
so
she has that's a secret talent.
She has absolutely a talent in that side. Yeah.
She should probably pursue it as a hobby. One day.
No. We are using that now. So we started the UNISOT company together.
Perfect.
So it's actually a family company.
Okay.
So it's me, my wife, and our oldest daughter who's running the.
She's how old now?
28, 29.
Because in the story when you guys were in Belgium, you said 12.
12, yes.
So
yes.
28, 29. So tell us a little bit more about UNISOT and how you felt. You know what? This is the next stage in the business, as well as does it still follow the trend and the line of computers communicating since you were 16?
Exactly. It's exactly on that track, actually. So what we are doing, I told you we are a blockchain service provider, but we also have built a second layer software system, which is a supply chain management system. So we are working with supply chains. And many people then think, so supply chains, it's a truck driving back and forth or something. But actually, supply chain is everything. Everything that you don't grow in your garden or build in your garage comes through a supply chain.
Exactly.
Someone has picked it, someone has grown it, someone has built it, someone has transported it to a factory, someone put it together with something else, transported it, stored it, transported it to a retailer, and then sold it to you. So all these steps, that's a supply chain. And that's the biggest employer and the biggest market in the world today. Everything goes through a supply chain.
That makes sense, actually.
So for UNISOT, we started in 2017, December 21, solstice day.
Perfect.
So actually, the company really started up in 2019 then. Sorry, 18.
2018.
And then I was working full-time as an SAP consultant, but I worked part-time. So 100% as a SAP consultant, and the other 50% on my free time to start getting this company up and running, finding investors, trying to find people, and then in 2019 we got our first seed funding, which enabled me to go full time in my company, and also to start building up the team.
Perfect. Congrats on that, man.
Yeah. So today we are 17 people.
Wow.
About 5 people here in Norway, and the rest is spread in mostly in Europe.
That's a huge jump from freelance consulting.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. Because freelance consulting was just me and my wife. I managed myself, my time myself. Now suddenly we have 16 other people that you have to manage, and that's a complete new role, and that's something that I'm growing into.
What challenge do you face in managing other people? Like, what is the challenging aspect?
There is a lot of challenges. You have to negotiate prices and salaries, and you have to get people to talk to each other, try to build a culture. Like I said, the first thing I tell them is it's okay to make fault or make mistakes as long as you learn from them.
Yeah.
So I want to tell them that from the beginning, and I'm accepting when they do faults and errors, because that's how they learn. The problem with people is to get them to communicate and to work together.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky. We had some. There's always trouble when a new person comes in the boat. It rocks.
Yes.
And then everybody have to find their place,
Right.
and then it goes. But we've been lucky and we have a really good team.
So do you feel it's easier to make computers communicate or humans communicate?
Computer is easier. Because there you have protocols and you have rules, and if you don't do that, it doesn't work. But people you have to talk to. But I think I found a way to do that, and I believe it works.
Yes,
the way
yeah.
we are doing it.